Community Center. If you missed that opportunity, the second presentation will be held Friday, April 17th from 10:30 till 11 o'clock in the morning at Joslyn Senior Center. The police department will discuss current scams that largely target seniors, along with the prevention of car and home burglaries. Also, the City of Redlands will be holding a Dancing with the Stars show. That happens Thursday, April 16th from 3 until 6. Following the show, there will be a dinner and dance. The event will take place at the Joslyn Senior Center. For more information regarding any of these events, call 909-798-7550 or go to www.cityofredlands.org. And that's a look at the community calendar. I'm Di Rice on KCAA.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
They say there's honor among thieves, but I say that depends on the thieves. Your common street thief, yes, but not those princely CEOs of corporate larceny. The elites in the top suites are pickpockets, swindlers, thugs, and scoundrels, routinely committing mass economic violence against America's working families to further enrich and empower themselves. But now comes a cabal of about 24 corporate chieftains pushing a vicious new campaign of physical violence against workers. The anti-labor bully Walmart is among the leaders, but so are such prestigious chains as Macy's and Nordstrom, along with Lowe's, Kohl's, and Safeway. Their goal is to gut our nation's workers' compensation program, freeing corporate giants to injure or even kill employees in the workplace without having to pay for the lost wages, medical care, or burial of those harmed. Workers' comp insurance is a social contract between injured employees who give up their right to sue their companies for negligence and employers who pay for insurance to cover a basic level of medical benefits and wages for those harmed. Administered by state governments, benefits vary, and they usually fall far short of meeting the full needs of the injured people, but the program has at least provided a measure of help to assuage the suffering of millions. But even that's too much for these avaricious, multi-billion-dollar corporations. Why pay for insuring employees when it's much cheaper just to buy state legislators who are willing to privatize workers' comp? This lets corporations write their own rules of compensation to slash benefits, cut safety costs, and earn thieving CEOs bigger bonuses. This is Jim Hightower saying, yes, this shifty move is a scurrilous crime, but it's a crime that pays richly. And all that money can fill the hole in their souls where their honor used to be.
This is KCAA.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden. Take a walk on.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk radio show with me, Elaine McFadden, your registered dietitian, your personal dietitian. I'm here for you. Let me tell you, I'm here. I want everyone that's listening to this show to get healthy. I'm telling you, that's what I want. I want you guys feeling good. I want you having energy. I want you loving life, getting out there, feeling like you want to get out there. There are so many things tied to eating healthy and exercise and having a good mental state. Pretty much every disease is rooted in, slumping off on those other things is pretty much what happens. And I'm telling you, I am human just like the rest of you. And that's why I feel like I can talk, because I know exactly what it's like. I've tried every kind of diet out there. I've fasted for days at a time. I was doing the Atkins diet when the Atkins diet came out, and that was a long time ago. So, pills, you name it. I've tried all these different things, and I can tell you the bottom line is it's discipline. It's, first of all, not even like buying the bad stuff. And I'm hoping that you're listening to Smart Health Talk every week, because we're on every Thursday at 4:00, and then I think you can catch us on Sunday at 9:00 in the morning too. So if you want to share, if you want to tell your friends that, oh, I heard this really good radio show And I learned so much. I want to get my friends listening. Please remember that our podcasts are right there on kcaaradio.com. So even after the show, you can still listen to our show. You can download it even. You can save it and listen to it later, which I think is really cool. Because we actually put a lot of work into this radio show, preparing for it, putting our web pages up afterwards. And if you have not been to our website, Smart Health Talk, we have so much information, and I have been working on building our organic recipe blog, the regular blog. I've actually written a bunch of stuff that I haven't put up there yet. And but mainly I'm doing Instagram. There was like a really good picture I wanted to send you guys too. I have the cutest party tray using Tasty brand. Everyone has to have, some sort of party at some time in their life where they have to impress everybody. And this organic party tray is pretty cute. And it's great for little kids, too, because we have little tiny star cookies with gumdrops on top. And it's so adorable. So I'm going to be putting that up on my recipe blog. So I'm hoping you're going to come and look for that. And if you don't follow me on Pinterest, please do, and let me know. When I anyone that follows me, I follow you. So. I want to see what you're putting up too, because obviously we're interested in the same things. So Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. And I really like it when people come and join me and, share things with me. Elaine at smarthealthtalk.com is my email if you want to let me know about anything that you would like to hear about on the show. I do plan on doing some more shows like we did about a month and a half ago, where we, bring someone on the show and we can kind of do a mini diet counseling. So people can kind of get an idea on some ways that they can change their diet that really are not painful whatsoever. We're just a few small changes can make such a big difference. And I hope everyone's eating organic, because that's what we talk about here at Smart Health Talk, because they are putting some major pesticides on your food. And I hope you're listening to me when I say this, because you think I'm having fun here having to tell you guys this stuff. I tell you, it is like, it breaks my heart that all this stuff is going on, because I know that it's affecting people's health. It's affecting how you feel every day. It's affecting how much you're getting to live life, and whether you're getting to spend time with the people you love, and having enough money, because getting sick is very costly, very, very costly. And people they're all the time, they're like, oh gosh, I can't afford that healthy food. Come on. Yes, you can. Yes, you can afford. People go out and buy a bag of potato chips when for the same amount of money almost, you could buy a 5-pound bag of whole potatoes with fiber and vitamin C, and the organic kind without 35 pesticides on them, because that is how much the conventional potatoes have. They have all kinds of sprout inhibitors. All those fast food restaurants, they are the worst. They are demanding that they have the perfect potato. It has to be long. It has to not have any blemishes on it. And so they're forcing these farmers to try to create the perfect vegetable, which in nature is not the norm. Okay? It's not the norm, and big freaking deal. So what if it's shaped weird, or, it's got like a couple of extra of those little eyes on it? Who cares? It's organic. It's food. You cut it up, you mash it up. Who cares? I've been getting, I think I shared with you, I've been getting these great Fuji apples from the farmer's market. And when do you think that those were on the tree? They were on the tree months ago. Months and months ago. Okay? And I go and buy them at the farmer's market, and this farmer is just keeping them in a cool, dark place. That's it. Okay? And these are like perfect apples. They're crunchy. They have no sprays on them. No, nothing. These other ones, they want to make apples GMO. They have to genetically modify them so they won't brown. And who the heck do you think that's for? Do you think that's for us consumers that are just sit around distraught that our apples are turning brown? Oh my gosh. It's just like, it just ruins my whole day. It's like, no, I could care less about that. Okay, because I usually eat my apple, or there's usually some sort of citrus juice. If I'm making something with the apple, I just put a little lemon juice in there. It's no big deal. No, this is all for the fast food companies. And those little bags of apples they're selling in the Happy Meals now, they don't want them to turn brown, and they want them to have a really, really long shelf life, because that's what makes them money. So they're going to force the rest of us into having a GMO apple. And I am writing an article right now, and let me tell you, these more and more it's becoming obvious that these foods are ripping us off. They are ripping us off of nutrition, potential nutrition that should be there. It's not there. They blocking the process where they make the fruit, like, makes the friggin' nutrition, so it doesn't brown. They're just screwing with everything. And then they want to contaminate all the other apples so that there is no pure apple out there. So their friggin' DNA is in every friggin' apple. So we got to pay them for every apple because their DNA's in it. Because they've already sued people just because there's a little bit of DNA in some, one stalk of corn in a field. They go after that farmer. It's crazy, And right now, this little poor, the poorest country in the world, is being sued because they don't want, these GMOs, so they go after people are trying to stand up and say, no, we have the right to health care. We have the right to be able to have this test. We have the right to say no to your GMOs. And then they're coming back and saying, oh, yeah? You think so, huh? Well, we're going to sue you. We don't care you're the poorest country in the world. We're going to sue you because you're going against us. You're not doing what we want you to do. And this is what's going on. I call it corporate bullying. And it is so widespread. States, Vermont is being sued right now because they're trying to pass a GMO labeling bill. We had people from over in Jackson County, Oregon, that passed a law. Just, the regular old Democratic way, people vote and the majority won and they said, okay, we got a law here. It wasn't good. It was all on honor system. No one had to pay any money. And Monsanto is suing them. And you know how much money they got? But God, and then they got to do fundraising. They got to pay for all this legal stuff, because some other farmers said, oh, my rights are being violated. Well, because they want to grow GMOs. And they voted to have no GMOs in the whole county. So one farmer, says, oh, my rights are being violated. Well, we passed a law here, and it's the law for our county. And if you don't like it, then you have to move somewhere else. So, I don't see anything wrong with that. But I want to tell you, it's been making me sick how they're pushing these flea collars that are pure pesticides. Everyone, do not put a flea collar made of pesticide on your dog. Your kids aren't even allowed to touch the dog for days. That's how toxic it is. It's pure pesticide against your animal's skin. No wonder they're going to get cancer later. And I see all these commercials and they're acting like they're all safe. They're not safe. Okay? Who do we have? Do we have a? Hey, Joe. Joe's our engineer here at KCAA. Do we have a guest star on the line? Okay, cool. I got to tell you, people. I think everyone has to know that Earth Day is coming right around the corner here, and that's a pretty special time for us here at Smart Health Talk. We're pretty big on things like America's Recycles Day and Earth Day. And this is our Earth Day broadcast here. I was going to ask Joe if you have any 2001 Space Odyssey. I was thinking that would be kind of cool I don't know if you have that handy, but I was kind of wishing I had that. No? Darn. I was thinking that would be good for Earth Day. Have a little 2001 Space Odyssey in the background there. Yeah, I guess I should have got that ahead of time. Anyway, this is our Earth Day broadcast, and that's April 22nd, everyone. And we have been doing this since 1980. And it's like now there's even more work to be done than in 1980. It's gotten worse. But we have people out there that are watching out for the rest of us. And these are the people out there that are willing to go spend long periods of time out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, testing the water, doing measurements. This group actually sent drones out last July. They went out there in the Pacific Ocean to find out about all the plastic out there, because this is the group with Captain Charles Moore, that discovered the Pacific garbage patch. It's pretty much just like a bunch of trash, floating. People think it's just like this one mass or whatever. It's floating everywhere at different depths, and it's very disgusting. And it's a problem. It's just getting worse and worse. And there's some really big things that can happen as kind of a cascading effect as a result of what we're doing here, that can have a major impact on our food supply, the future food supply, our oceans are in jeopardy. We just think that they're so big that they're immune to damage, and that is not true. And we are going to feel it. We're going to feel it big time. And so the people from Algalita, which is Captain Charles Moore and his team, they went out last July to do all these measurements and see the progression from when they had first discovered it to find out, how bad is it? And so I am very excited to have members of his team here today on the show for our Earth Day broadcast to give us a report on, just what did they find out there. They've had time to analyze the data and that, so I'm sure that they have some results now. So I don't even know. We all get to find out here today together. Okay, how bad is it with the plastic and the pollution out in the ocean? We're going to be talking about that, and then I don't want you to leave, because at the end of our show, I have a really incredible company. They're on my top pick list. If you go to Expo West and click Expo West on our homepage, you can find the link to their website, Organic Essence. They are a really special company. They make products for our skin that are safe, pure, organic. Not just that, but their packaging has no plastic. And the cosmetic industry is notorious for using plastic on everything that they put their products in. And it's paper. I mean, they have paper packaging, and it's beautiful, and it's very useful, and nothing wrong with it. And it's better than plastic. So I'm really anxious to have them on our show as well. But we have the Alligator group. Okay, to tell you the truth, I ran out of the house and I forgot my paper with everyone's name on it. So I'm just going to introduce the Alligator group and have them introduce themselves and tell what they're doing as part of the team, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty about what was discovered on their latest research. So welcome to Smart Health Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. My name is Liesl Thomas, and I am the Executive Director for Algalita Marine Research and Education.
Oh, okay. So you're the person that puts a lot of the what you guys learn, and then you go out and share that with the community, kind of a thing.
We do. Well, and actually, the other person here today does a lot more of that than I do.
Okay.
My name's Katie Allen. I'm the education director over here. So yeah, we work together with our scientists to do exactly things just like this phone call. Go out in the community and tell people what we're finding, and collaborate with other groups to find out even more about the health of our oceans.
Well, how long have you guys been doing this?
So Captain Moore, actually, he founded Algalita back in 1994, but the focus of the organization was different. He was focused on restoring the kelp forest along the California coast. He didn't change the focus of Algalita until 1997, when he happened to sail through the area that people called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So it's this eastern part of the North Pacific Ocean. So in 97, that's when he came back, changed the focus. In 99, he went back out and took samples. That's really when our work started. So it's been just over 15 years now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been quite a while. We were one of the first organizations to really go out and start collecting these numbers. And since then, we've inspired a lot of other groups to get involved, not only in the research, also in education, also in, the art world. There's a lot of artists now that are raising awareness of this issue. So our job has really been to inspire people with our stories, with our data, our education.
I know Wylan, and I know he's one of them that's been doing that for a long time. He painted like 100 building-sized murals all over the world with bringing attention to whales and marine life. And then we've also had Dr. Alex Morton on our show, who actually researched dolphins for many years. She thought she could break the code and figure out how to talk to them. She really thought she was going to do it. She said, and then she went on to whales, and her husband were studying whales together when he had a tragic accident, unfortunately. And but she has really been doing a lot with the salmon population up in Canada, which is another huge issue. That it's just extremely upsetting. I spent hours and hours putting a couple of web pages together on our Smart Health Talk, trying to bring all the information together so people could understand why they should never buy farmed salmon. That's the rule. Never buy farmed salmon. And, there's a lot of other, fish too. Like this whole subject, I just find it so interesting because we're at such a critical time right now where the decisions that we're making, even at the grocery store, with the products that we're buying, it really is having an impact on our short and long-term food supply. And there are better alternatives because there are fish out there that multiply way faster than other fish. And so those are the kind of fish that we need to be eating now, which may not have been the traditional fish that people were raised on. And so to me, there's a lot of education in that area as well. But I'm kind of curious, was Captain Moore out there just like putting around in his boat and all of a sudden he just like crashed into the Pacific, this big Pacific garbage patch out there, and he just went, whoa, what's this?
Yeah, no, well, it's interesting that you would put it that way because, when you hear the word Great Pacific Garbage Patch, the first thing that I think most people think of is some landmass, some island.
That's what I thought.
But no, you see, it's not like that at all. And what happened was when he came back, he was on Letterman and Colbert, and, the media really picked up on his story, and they really attached themselves to the term Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And that's been difficult for us because it's not a patch at all. What it is it's like huge areas of plastic soup. That's what it's like. In fact, when he saw it, he was sailing through and he was noticing tiny pieces of what looked like confetti all around him, confetti-like pieces of plastic. Rarely would you find a, consumer-type plastic bottle. You would not find a plastic bag. By the time those types of recognizable items make their way out into these accumulation areas, the sun has broken them down into tiny bits. So you don't find large pieces. The large pieces that we do find are generally related to the fishing industry or other type of industry items like the heavier kinds of plastics, the buckets and like the oil can type things we find.
Or those floaties that are on like the nets.
Right, from the fishing industry. And in fact, interestingly enough, on this last expedition, and we noticed that, earlier when you were talking about the drones, we've been using the drones to help us in our collection. So drone facilitated collection, meaning, really widen our view with this drone. And
and this was like the first time. Last year was the first time you got a chance to like have those kind of eyes up there for you.
Yeah,
and I'm really curious. Like what happened as a result of that.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about it is going back to talking about how it's like plastic soup. Well, the drone wouldn't necessarily pick up on those types of plastic. You can imagine smaller than, let's say a grain of rice, right around that size. That is what the majority of the plastic looks like out there. And there was a paper just recently published. It was our data along with data from other scientists, quantifying plastic in the world's oceans, and that is the size that is most commonly found floating on the surface is about the size of a grain of rice.
But doesn't it like get actually smaller than that, like even microscopic?
Right. Yeah. So it's
explain to our listeners about that microscopic plastic.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So in fact, that's kind of what Algalita has been specializing in over the past 15 years is, like I said, the majority is like a grain of rice, and then it breaks down into salt and pepper-like pieces, and then even beyond that, it breaks down into more microscopic. So when we're analyzing our samples, we are literally pulling out even these microscopic pieces with dissection microscopes. So it takes us a very, very long time to obtain our data. In fact, earlier when you were saying, very curious to see what we found and what our data looks like, we're still in the process of analyzing.
Yeah, I kind of figured you guys weren't completely there yet.
No, well, it's just
it takes
when you
a while.
imagine the state of these samples, if it was large pieces, we would have been done months ago. But we literally are working with dissection microscopes and forceps, pulling these things out. So we don't have the data from the expedition, but what is really exciting about it is this year, the 2014 expedition kind of marked the end of this period where we were monitoring trends in this area. So we've been studying it for 15 years. We have 4 expeditions where we've sampled from the same locations. So after we have finished pulling this data from our samples, it will be combined with data from the past to show trends in quantity and type.
Oh, yeah, that's very exciting. Because
so in the next couple years, that will hopefully 2016 it will be published. But that's something that we're very excited for, and it's taken a very, very long time.
And explain to everyone why you're excited, because I'm thinking it's like you can say, "I told you so."
Well, because up until this point, a lot of Algalita's research, although we do have this very nitty-gritty data from these expeditions, a lot of our research has been based on stories from Captain Moore, from what he has observed out there.
So observational studies, which are still, those are still legitimate, but it's hard when you're looking for hard data.
Right, and it's also hard because people will tend to quote Captain Moore. He came back from the 2014 expedition and he said, I wouldn't doubt that there's, I forget the number he said, 100 to something.
100 times.
He threw a ratio out just from his observation, and of course the media picked up on that right away, which we'll see when our data set comes out if he was close.
We'll see.
Just from his visual observation of the way that the water samples look to the naked eye were much worse than what he had ever seen before in the past.
Oh, that's extremely upsetting.
Yeah.
I know, and that's we're having this conversation, but the bottom line is we're talking about a serious situation here, potentially even more serious than when we say serious. There's the potential that it could be even more serious.
Right. But, the good thing is we are seeing more and more studies coming out talking about where this is all coming from. And I think
really?
This is the report that Katie referred to earlier. There's a story a report that came out back in February. Jenna Jambeck was the main author on it, but there were a few other co-authors. But they looked at waste all over the world and tried to look at what countries most of this waste that's ending up in the ocean is coming from. And, of course, a huge percentage of that is plastic. And now that we're seeing it, I think, with any luck, people are going to start to recognize that waste management is such a key to all of this. We have to manage our waste better. It's not just about recycling, although, of course, we need to do better at that. We don't do nearly enough on that end. But we also need to teach people about overall waste management and also how to not waste to begin with, how to not create the waste.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
The overuse, we're so wasteful, and we really do need to start thinking on a more zero waste level.
I know it sounds stupid, but even when I'm like, I have just a one big sink for my kitchen, but when I have like a cup of water, I started just thinking, okay, Elaine, what are you going to do with this? Because sometimes, you have like an old glass or whatever, and there's like still water in it. And I'm thinking, I can do something with this water. So I've actually got my significant other. I've got him doing the same thing too. Where even when we have like a bowl of water or a glass of water, we go and at least like dump it in a plant or do something with it instead of just dumping it down the drain. But even when you're washing dishes and all these other things, I mean, there's so many different ways of doing things where you could be so much more efficient.
Yeah, what's hard
wasteful.
What's hard about plastic is that, with water, you can pour it in a plant, and that's a great way to deal with it. But plastic is such a persistent, durable material that just does not go away. As scientists, we don't like to say the word that plastic lasts forever. Forever is not a good scientific word, but in all reality, we don't know how long it lasts because it's never died a natural death before. So that's why people tend to
No, that's so important. That's what you just said right there is just so absolutely important. And actually, I had Bahu or something. I'm not sure how to say their name, but they have one of the two gigantic plastic PET recycling plants in the country. And I had the family that like owns that on the show before, and he said that plastic is like you can recycle it forever. That's what he said, that you could recycle it forever. And that makes me think, just what you were just saying. Yeah, we don't even know how long this stuff would last. If we can recycle it forever, then it's probably persistent in the environment for practically forever.
Yeah, we won't know. And I think there's some types of plastic that probably couldn't be recycled forever too. There's different kinds. You see the numbers on the bottom.
Oh yeah, his was the pure PET.
Yeah,
that's the one.
More valuable, definitely. Yeah, and I mean it would be great if we had produced all this plastic and we were recycling it and not producing any more. But the fact is, we're producing it.
But doesn't it come down to these things that we're just talking about here? Because I have a big section on my website of the different numbers on the plastic. Mm-hmm. And the thing I really love when I went to your fundraiser, one of the things that people were talking about at the fundraiser that I was most fascinated with were the fact that people do have a better system that is working right now. In Europe, they have a better recycling system on... it's like when you look at all the packaging, and, if we just said, okay, wait a minute, instead of having like 10,000 different kinds of plastic, we're going to get it down to where we're only going to use like 1,000 different kinds. Mm-hmm. And, getting control over this packaging and who's using what. And I remember they said that there's all these, that was a surprise to me at the fundraiser, was that there's all these little plastic making companies. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard for you guys to monitor all of them. and making sure that they are abiding by the rules. And like you said, you're learning how this is getting into the water. And I'm wondering, like, who is the, who do we need to work with and teach how to be a better country as far as waste management goes? Who is some of the biggest culprits that are polluting right now?
Yeah, well, that paper that Liesl had mentioned earlier, that Jenna Jembat paper, number 1 on the list happened to be China.
That was my guess.
Yeah, and the United States came in at number 20. So we're not, we're not far down on the list. And the study was done at 192 countries. So it wasn't the entire world. It was focused on 192. And from that study, they actually determined that roughly 8 million metric tons of plastic enters the ocean every year. And the way that the author kind of made it more visual was she said that would be like 5 grocery bags of plastic for every foot of coastline in the entire world. That is how much plastic is entering the ocean every single year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And their rough estimate for how much is being produced is about 270 million metric tons being produced.
And we're just talking we're not talking all the sewage and the Navy and all their stuff they're dumping. I mean, it is just, we are really doing a lot of bad things to the ocean. So these, these different things that as far as like the action, like I'm really interested in action phase, and you guys have pretty much gotten there. You've done all this really great research and worked with the universities to come up with some really good action steps that can be done right now. And I know that working, identifying and I remember one that it really impressed me was that you had a way of putting into the business license application form something that could help you identify the different locations where these plastic companies are, because it's just hard to even keep track of them, to let alone making sure they're playing by the rules.
Right. And even, I remember the report from actually the Bren students that we work with that you're speaking to. And even when you look at all of the different solutions that they came up with, we had they were all tiered into what was priority. And I mean, even then there was a list of 10 plus solutions, and it's really, it's incredible. The approach that we will have to take to really managing this and kind of changing the tide, it's a pretty hefty load.
Well, we have alternatives, and that's why in a few minutes, I hope you guys will stay on the line while our other guest joins us. They're Organic Essence. They're a company that said, we're going to find a way to do this without plastic. And in the cosmetic industry, which is quite a challenge, and their packaging is quite interesting. It's all paper. But I know that there's other materials that people are looking at as alternatives to petroleum to make plastic. And one of the most interesting that I've read about is, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but it's like chitin. It's like
it's from the
shrimp. Yeah.
I heard about that too a while ago. I haven't followed up on it, but I'm really interested in it as well. So for the people who are listening, when you're cleaning shrimp or you're taking shrimp apart, the part of their shell, it really does look like plastic.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It does. It does kind of look
like
it.
That's exactly what they're kind of trying to play on right there. And, you just kind of sparked my interest again of looking that up. But
yeah, because we eat so much shrimp globally that we produce like millions of tons of waste of this just shrimp shells. And so it's like, okay, what can we usefully do with all these shrimp shells? And they figured out a way to make plastic out of the shrimp shells. And what was really cool about it was that it degrades in the water. It degrades just like a plant. And that even when you put it in the soil, it actually helped nourish the plant, was their sales pitch.
Yeah, see, what's so interesting about the alternatives, and it's something that I just find so fascinating, is, we're up against a huge challenge, because I think about plastic and why we use it in the first place. So a lot of people actually don't know that plastic is made out of oil, right? So it's made out of oil, chemicals, and dyes. And when you think about
And it's the yucky oil too, isn't it?
But yeah, it's the petroleum. And when
crude.
you think about oil, I mean, even just your basic olive oil or vegetable oil, what happens when you try to mix it with water?
It separates.
It doesn't. So that is the reason why we use plastic, is because it's so hydrophobic, so afraid of water, that it is the perfect packaging material, because liquid will not seep through it. Liquid will not break it down. So when you look at these other alternatives, we're looking at these shells from different crustaceans. Manufacturers are up against a big challenge, making sure that it doesn't degrade too fast for their product.
Yeah, it's good that it biodegrades, but when you want something to have a year's shelf life.
Exactly. So it's challenging.
And it has a liquid inside.
Yeah, but all the creative thinking that is going into these alternatives is it's amazing. I've seen scientists working with different fungi, looking at using, mushrooms instead of styrofoam for packing materials, which is really interesting.
I met someone that was using potatoes too.
Yeah.
But anytime that we're talking food, a red flag goes up for me, especially the whole GMO corn thing. And when I had the big PET recycler on, one of the things I learned from them was that there it is a difference when we're talking GMO corn plastic versus petroleum-based PET, like the petroleum-based PET, which is what all of our recycling is based off of. And so the process where you're recycling the PET, it works perfectly with that particular product. But when you put these other things, the Tetra Paks, the GMO corn, these other things into the mix, they actually separate and clog up the system and make it less efficient.
Right.
So why are we even, that's why when you guys started talking about like Europe having a system that is way more efficient than our recycling system, and they're collecting more materials, and the recycling means jobs, because we're creating new jobs that don't even exist right now. And if we would raise how much we're recycling, we would create, we could create over 1 million new jobs, and then people will service those new businesses, and everyone, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
But we need to do this better. We're just doing this haphazard. It reminds me of the latest electronic device that comes out, and it has a different configuration of cord. And so we ended up, it's like they can't just make one cord that like works for everything. We have one cord that plugs into the wall. Why can't we have one plug? And so we ended up with all these cell phone cords, and just there's that documentary, the story of stuff or something like that. Just too much stuff. We're creating too much stuff, and we need to streamline. And I know you were talking about that earlier, and I'm just wondering, is that something that you guys are working on with anyone? Because I thought, hey, we need to get a committee together. As soon as I heard that Europe had a better recycling system, I'm just thinking, why are we not duplicating this?
Yeah.
Well, I think there are a lot of people that are trying to. I mean, you have people like the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council, which is a nonprofit here in Southern California, and they work with a lot of these businesses to get them certified zero waste. And so they take them through a whole certification process, and they're working with there are a lot of corporations that people don't realize
are making an effort.
Making an effort, and they're finding that they're saving money.
Oh,
A good example is Sierra Nevada. For anyone who's a beer drinker, I'd say support them. They're doing a great job, but they also realized that they were going to save money, because not only did they have less waste that they were creating, so that saved them money as far as how much they got charged to get that hauled away, but they started selling their recyclables, so that brought in money. And Toyota's another one. I mean, there's some companies out there that are really working hard towards the zero waste, and I think...
that zero waste. Actually, I was just reading there's a big conference going on.
Yeah, there's one coming up in L.A. next month. We'll actually be there.
Oh, you will?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you tell everyone about that? Because I thought that sounded pretty interesting.
It's going to be May 7th and 8th at the Biltmore in Los Angeles. And if you go to the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council website, you can register and buy your tickets to go to attend. There are going to be a number of businesses there. This year their theme is the Stars of Zero Waste. And there are going to be people from all over the country and the world that are anything from your normal businesses to recyclers to waste management companies that'll all be a part of this conference. There are going to be several panels and keynote speeches, and I think it's going to be a pretty interesting conference. We're looking forward to it.
And I would, it's a good conferences for businesses like not consumers, but businesses that, like you said, are looking to, try to go down this path of creating less waste and, finding ways to, turn their trash to treasure, whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
Kind of a thing. So that zero waste. I love that concept. And is there benefits, like if you become a lead LEED building or become like a zero waste business, is there any kind of tax incentives to go with that?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's probably something people could find out on the Zero Waste website.
Well, we should make it like that.
We really should. We should make it, better for businesses that are trying to do good.
Yeah, because I'm sure that they're saving all of us money in the end, on keeping that stuff from ending up in the environment. Well, is there, before I bring my other guest on, which I'm hoping you guys are going to stay on because I want you to help me, and feel free to ask questions too, because I want to find out what it's like to, they're like doing it for real. A lot of times we talk about like theory on, this, we did all this research and if we do this and this, but it's really nice because I remember when I was trying to get junk food and sodas out of school when no one had even thought of it before. And there was one school food service director that actually took a vending machine and put some healthy choices in there and charged the same amount of money and proved that the kids not only would buy it, but you could make money off those healthy products. And to me, that was like a huge thing when I had one school food service director that proved that you could really do it. It's like, look, she did it. You really can do this, because everyone else was saying, oh, they'll never buy it. Oh, we'll never make any money off that. So I was so excited when I actually had someone that proved it. And I feel like Organic Essence is one of those companies. They're early adopters, they're leaders, they're role models. They're all that, and it was such a great display. Katie, and it's Liesel, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay. It was such a great display at Expo West, the big, organic food and product show in Anaheim, that they had like an aquarium, and they had dirt in the bottom of it, and then they had all the normal cosmetic plastic containers that you would buy your products in sitting in that soil. It's like, obviously it's like never going to break down, right? And then you have their product, which is made of paper, no plastic, deodorant tubes, lip balm tubes, containers for their facial shea butters and all this thing. It's all in this paper packaging, and they scored really high on my list of one of my top innovative products for Expo West. And I would like to welcome Organic Essence to the show. Are you there?
Hi, Elaine. This is Ellery. Yes.
Yeah. Were you the one that I interviewed at the show?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I recognize your voice. And are you the president or CEO of Organic Essence?
Yes, I'm the president and CEO of Organic Essence and Ecovision Packaging.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of the inventor of the packaging.
Yes, we invented it for our own brand, and then when we realized it could solve so many problems for so many other brands, we make our packaging available to everybody.
Oh, see, I learned something new right there. And I don't know if you caught any of our show that we were talking to Alagita, and we were talking, they're Captain Moore was kind of, he's been really the pioneer for all of this information and research.
Amazing work. It's just shocking what he's uncovered.
Oh, and the
it's
fact
a truth that we're not doing so well for the environment.
Well, and the fact that, like, the ladies were saying that they have been collecting this data and that they have 4 sets of data now that they can actually compare, which, as a scientist myself, as a dietitian, I know the importance of that. And when you have that proof and you can prove that that trend is actually happening, then you can start to get a lot more things done and get a lot more attention from people. So that's huge and very significant. Now, why don't
really
you
communicate?
Yeah, and you have to have that quantitative data. So why don't you share with us? We only have a few more minutes, but I would like you to have a chance to share on what it's like to have a company like that, why you chose to go in that direction, and have you ever done any figures and projected on how much if your sales get to a certain point, the potential for keeping plastic out of the environment with your packaging, the actual tonnage or square feet you're keeping out of the landfills or whatever.
I'll start with your first question, and that is, we were one of the first companies with organic acids certified to the USDA organic standard for body care products when they opened it up to non-food products in 2000.
Wow, congratulations.
And we immediately recognized the disconnect between the plastic packaging that was ubiquitous and what the goal and meaning of organic was. We believe that organic and natural exist to begin with because people are trying to avoid synthetic chemicals. Otherwise, we would just be happy with conventional products. And so this synthetic chemical issue is intricately linked with packaging as well. In fact, I don't know if you're aware that the NOSB, which is the National Organic Standards Board, recently took plastic packaging under review with the eye towards possibly disallowing plastic packaging use for organic products. And we don't know whether that rule will come out of anytime soon, but what that symbolizes to us is that people are becoming aware of the fact that plastic packaging imparts toxic chemicals into foods and body care products and all sorts of things. And our view is that consumers are paying extra money for organic and to avoid synthetic chemicals, and to have the package contaminate a wonderful organic product is counterproductive.
I agree.
So in a nutshell, that's what motivated us to get into organic and into packaging.
And I'm just thinking the potential. When I looked at how big that plastic looked in the aquarium with the dirt and everything, compared to your packaging, even like the volume, the mass of it just seems so much bigger, and like it's just taking up all this space.
Well, what Lisel was saying earlier about plastic being hydrophobic is true. It's like glass is wonderful packaging material, but it's so darn heavy.
Yeah, and shipping costs are high.
But glass does not interact with the product like plastic does.
Yeah, glass
now,
is
when
clean.
we were kids, we were told that plastic is inert. And like so many things in the chemical realm, they were wrong. And in fact, recently, the Wall Street Journal itself published that a study that showed that half of American cases of asthma are directly related to phthalate exposure, which is a direct result from encountering fragrances and plastic packaging. So 25 million Americans suffer from asthma right now, and half of them got it from a chemical that the government said was safe to inflict on us. And a lot of that exposure came from people who innocently, like all of us, we buy products that are only available in plastic packaging. A lot of foods only come in plastic, and there you are getting a dose.
Well, you perfect timing because we're running out of time. But I definitely, I mean, I just feel like we could really have a great conversation. Don't you and Katie and LaSalle? It's LaSalle, right? Liesel. I had it right the first time. Darn it. Isn't this interesting?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to connect more offline because I'm very interested in the product and everything you're saying about how the organic products should have the organic packaging, and it just makes so much sense. It really does.
And the fact that they've been able to actually prove we can do it, I'm so proud of you for all that, and I really want to thank you. And Organic Essence, everyone, please check out their website and all that. And thank you so much for being our guests, all of you. And unfortunately, our show's over. But
thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm going to build a really cool webpage because I have the other interview with you guys too, and I want to put all the information because you guys, I feel you're going to really start probably doing a lot more with all this new data that you have as well.
Definitely. We have lots of plans moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I want to make sure that we get in there and help educate everyone because I love our talks. I feel like we talk about important stuff. So, okay, everyone, ALGALITA, Algalita, and then also Organic Essence. And please join us next Thursday, 4 o'clock, and go find our website, everyone, okay? And please buy organic.
And now, it's time for the latest in news from KCAA, CNBC Business News, brought to you by West Coast Auto.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
California headline news, former rap mogul Suge Knight back in the hospital. This after his latest court appearance in Los Angeles. A judge today deciding there is enough evidence for Knight to stand trial for murder and attempted murder charges for allegedly running down two men with his car in Compton. A new study of the smoking habits of 1,000 adult smokers here in California is now refuting the idea that e-cigarettes might